How many times did they actually, her poking Caitlin Clark in the eye? And that really had me thinking, like, damn, how many times did they actually, drop the ball and didn't call stuff against Caitlin? Now, Caitlin got called for a technical for hitting the back of the backboard. But somebody viciously clotheslined her. We're not getting a call.
The WNBA referees seem to think they're part of a comedy show with their strange calls on Caitlin Clark. 1 minute, she's being tackled, and there's no whistle, but the next, a tiny sneeze gets her a technical foul. It's obvious they can't tell a fair call if it hit them in the face. On top of that, they've been caught pushing an agenda, and the evidence is pretty embarrassing. Get ready, because the truth is about to come out.
They need to be investigated ASAP. We see what's happening with Caitlin Clark. There's no reason you shouldn't be protecting your star player, because without Caitlin Clark, there won't be no sold-out arena.
The WNBA refs clearly thought they could get away with their antics from last season, thinking no one would notice how they treated Caitlin Clark like she was just another player in gym class. Meanwhile, other players got superstar-level calls, like something you'd see in the NBA. The refs were quick to call fouls for the smallest contact, but when it came to Caitlin, she could be tackled, tripped, or even clotheslined, and the refs wouldn't do a thing, like they were just watching a Broadway show.
I don't want to see none of the calls being missed like we seen last year, bro. These referees have to get it together. Now, we know the Indiana Fever front office did everything they had to do, put the right pieces around Caitlin Clark, make sure they make it far in the playoffs and possibly get a WNBA championship. Well, that part is done. We got a new team. We got a new coach. They got everything they need to do to take off for the 2025 season. The only thing left is these WNBA referees. This need to be talked about, just like it was supposed to be getting talked about at the conclusion of that season. And I'm back on a bumper, bro. I am not letting up on them damn WNBA referees because they are the biggest hate.
It almost felt like the refs had a secret rulebook titled, How Not to Call Fouls on Caitlin Clark. Opponents would be pulling off WWE-style moves on her, and the refs would just shrug it off, acting like she'd be fine. But the moment Caitlin even looked at another player the wrong way, boom, a whistle, a technical foul, and free throws for the other team. It was like simply being near an opponent was enough to be called for a flagrant foul.
The offensive fouls are definitely surprising at times. I feel like I do get held.
She sold this flop perfectly. I gotta tip my hat to her. Had her hand on her chest. Most people who flop, they always do the little face thing. And she sold it perfectly. I gotta give it to her. Here's like a play from a different game. Watch Caitlin's reaction.
Excuse me, they got it on Caitlin Clark.
She wanted to really call out.
There were games where Caitlin took such hard fouls, it looked like she was trying out for a stunt double in an action movie, arms flailing, bodies hitting the floor, defenders treating her like a bumper car. Meanwhile, the refs just glanced at the jumbotron and shrugged it off as good defense. It was shocking how they completely missed such obvious calls.
The viewership on TV would not be like it is now, where everybody's watching it because it's must-watch TV. But we are seeing how she's being treated. She's being pushed around. She's being slapped around. Sometimes she's being punched around. And the fouls just keep getting harder and harder.
Let's talk about consistency, or rather, the total lack of it. In one game, a defender can hip-check Caitlin so hard she looks like she's been sent to another time zone with no call at all. Then in the next, a random player has their shoelace stepped on, and the refs rush in like lifeguards blowing their whistles. The double standard was more chaotic than a rookie trying to guard a veteran in the post. And the most frustrating part? The refs never bothered to explain any of it.
You have to be great as a ref. You have to be consistent. You have to. It can't be inconsistent. It can't be AAU.
There was no accountability, no acknowledgement, just pure gaslighting. Caitlin would take hits tougher than a quarterback in the pocket, standing up and looking for justice, while the refs were already halfway down the court, acting like they didn't hear a thing. At this point, she might as well bring a body cam to games for proof. And let's not forget the times she was called for offensive fouls just for existing, dribbling, cutting through the lane, or even looking at the basket. It felt like the refs woke up every day with the goal of making Caitlin Clark question her own reality. The inconsistencies were mind-blowing.
The referees and them not calling fouls like this one last night. Let's just check it out. There's going to be a drive down the court here, right? And we've got another clothesline from hell. This time, Marina Mabry on Caitlin.
Of course, social media captured every moment. The refs might have thought they were being clever, but the internet never forgets. Every missed call, every blatant foul, and every time Caitlin got roughed up on the court was documented like scenes from a crime show. The backlash was so strong that even people who don't usually watch basketball were asking, how is this even legal? Last season's officiating was so bad, it felt like the refs were flipping coins at halftime to decide who they'd penalize next, with Caitlin often on the losing side. These refs weren't just incompetent, they seemed to be working with an agenda, like a secret society of whistleblowers set on making sure Caitlin never had a moment of peace on the court. Thankfully, the league is now investigating their conduct, and it's about time. Let's be real, many of these refs wouldn't even be qualified to officiate a middle school game, yet here they were, making calls like they had a personal vendetta against Clark. One particularly infamous moment involved the eye poke by DJ Carrington, an incident that's sure to go down in history.
She's been going through the trenches this year. They've definitely been,
But you see how the hand starts out like this, and then she goes down and says, I'm poking this bitch in the eye.
Basically.
Let's see you make a 3-pointer with one eye,
But again, that comes that goes back to that. If you want to be the greatest, you got to deal with the hate and the haters and the people that are doing dirty shots and trying to take you out. That's normal.
It's what Jordan went through, right? It's what Jordan went through
for sure.
She had
yes, the infamous eye poke, a moment so outrageous it deserves its own Hall of Fame exhibit. DJ Carrington practically shoved her entire hand into Caitlin's face like she was looking for the last Pringle in the can. And what did the refs do? Absolutely nothing. No whistle, no review, not even a, hey, maybe don't assault people on live television. They let it slide as if they had just seen the slowest, most obvious foul in history and shrugged it off like, hey, we've seen worse. Meanwhile, Caitlin could simply breathe near a defender, and the refs were blowing their whistles like lifeguards spotting a shark. Illegal screen, offensive foul, breathing too hard, looking at an opponent the wrong way, they called everything on her except for an actual travel. It's ironic, considering half the league treats the rule book like a bedtime story they stopped reading in 6th grade. Now, the league is finally investigating this mess. You mean to tell me someone finally realized, hey, maybe our referees shouldn't be officiating like they have a personal vendetta against a rookie? Perhaps someone in the WNBA office actually tuned into the games and thought, this seems a bit suspicious. It's about time.
For example, what really made me start thinking about this was what's the DJ Carrington situation. Yesterday, I did a DJ Carrington video kind of breaking down that whole thing, technical on that. They didn't call nothing on that for her poking Caitlin Clark in the eye, and that really had me thinking like, damn, how many times did they...
The wild part is that some of these referees might not be back next season, and honestly, that's the best news Caitlin Clark has heard since signing her first endorsement deal. If these refs are replaced, maybe, just maybe, she'll finally get a fair game where she isn't treated like she committed a crime just for being on the court. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Knowing the WNBA, they'll probably just swap these refs for new ones who might still hold the same bias against Caitlin, just under different names. Imagine if they brought in referees from other sports. Picture a soccer ref giving Caitlin a red card for flopping when she's actually tackled in the paint. The current WNBA refs must have some selective vision, because Caitlin was getting knocked down like an old email, and they just stood there like NPCs in a video game. One game, Chendi Carter practically tackled her, and the refs just shrugged it off as play on. But if Caitlin even breathes too hard on defense, it's an instant whistle. Ironically, the flagrant foul committed by Carter wasn't even called during the game. No, it took a full league review, after everyone had gone home, for the refs to finally admit, oh yeah, maybe that was a foul. Seriously.
You saw the play in the third quarter where Carter kind of decked you. How do you respond to that and stay within yourself?
I feel like I'm just at the point where you accept it and don't retaliate. Just let them hit you, be what it is. Don't let it get inside your head and know it's coming. I think at this point, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game. It is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
The refs watched Caitlin get hit like she owed them money and they decided to clock out early. At this point, they might as well let defenders bring folding chairs into the paint because it's clear anything goes. What's next? A ref handing out Gatorade to defenders mid-play. Caitlin could get shoved into the third row, and these refs would probably call her for delay of game. It's honestly impressive how badly they officiate. Maybe they're watching a different game or still buffering, who knows? Either way, Caitlin's out there playing basketball, while the refs seem to be playing a game of how blind can we be? And somehow, they keep winning at it.
The refs going to do their job. As a matter of fact, when is the WNBA going to do their job? Because there should be some suspensions, check. There should be some fines, check. And you should be setting an example for your star player. Because God forbid this young lady gets hurt.
This season, Things are about to get intense for anyone thinking they can push Caitlin Clark around like they did last year. Why? Because the WNBA has finally brought in an enforcer, and her name is Sophie Cunningham. If you thought you could take cheap shots at Clark and just walk away whistling, not on Sophie's watch. She's the self-appointed security guard, enforcer, and personal bodyguard all rolled into one. If you even look at Caitlin the wrong way, Sophie's right there, ready to put you in a headlock while whispering sweet nothings about her 50 hard fouls lined up, and don't forget about Caitlin herself. She's clearly been hitting the gym with the kind of determination you'd expect from a WWE superstar. Whatever off-season training she did, it wasn't just about perfecting her jump shots, it was about making sure she doesn't get tossed around like a ragdoll this season. With Sophie watching her back and Caitlin ready to assert herself, opponents better be ready for a serious fight on the court.
Alright guys, we're starting a little TikTok weight room vlog. We're gonna show you what we do.
Get the butt down. Good.
Okay, speed! Okay, speed!
She's not just taking hits anymore, she's delivering them. Try to bump her now, and suddenly, you're the one hitting the floor. The scouting reports may have originally said to attack her defense, but now those teams are probably rethinking that strategy. But let's not forget the real villains of the WNBA, the refs. These officials move like they've got direct deposits from Caitlin's opponents. Last season, they handed out missed calls like free samples at Costco, and this year is no different. If you even breathe in Caitlin's direction, it's a no call, but the moment she blinks too aggressively, it's an offensive foul. It's almost impressive how consistently bad they are. They'd probably miss a foul even if a player pulled out a steel chair mid-game.
WNBA refs are not consistent. A hit to the arm on one play is a foul, and a hit to the arm on another play is not a foul. The inconsistency is really bad for this league, especially with all these players you got coming in. You got Caitlin leading it.